Over to you, Brian.
Thanks, Steve. Once again, my name is Brian Putman. I'm with Musco Sports Lighting. Here today to talk a little bit about the track lighting project here, and just kind of wanted to go through some of the specifics of, obviously what's being proposed and how this, is affects you, doesn't affect you, so forth, as neighbors, just in the community and so forth. Um, as Steve mentioned, one of the biggest things that we're looking to do in a project like this in a neighborhood sensitive area is just be a good neighbor. And of course, that's kind of how we designed a proposed layout and so forth. So I want to go ahead and kind of get into that as far as the layout that we're looking to go through, what this means, and just kind of go through some of the specifics and everything else with you here. I'm going to go ahead and pull my screen up here. You may have to expand that down to the bottom if you're on Microsoft Teams. And I'll try to get this up as I'm going to go ahead and pull my screen up. And you guys able to see that, Steve?
I can see it. Yeah.
Alrighty. So basically what we're looking at here is we're looking to may have to expand that as far as the replace the lighting system that's out at the track and field complex right now. We're looking at a 6-pole system. So we've got, if you see the cursor here, we've got everyone, you see a F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, and F6 would be a proposed pole location instead of obviously the existing poles that you have out there. We chose to kind of go this route in order to help the spill and glare numbers, to make sure it's not affecting the neighbors so much. So what this design allows us to do is effectively light the field to a safe standard, as well as limit the spill and glare that's going on to neighboring properties and so forth. Compared to, essentially getting into this compared to what's existing, we were able to go out to the site there and get some measurements, kind of where just foot candle levels are currently with the existing system. And down at the bottom here, you're going to see you're getting down to about close to a 7-foot candle standard, which is a really high number. With the proposed system, this is going to drop those values significantly. We're going to get all the way down to a maximum of 1.09 foot candles, which is very, very small. There's hardly any light with that whatsoever, basically enough just to kind of see the ground and get around with it, and kind of a safe walking light level there for sure. So basically what this is going to do is, it's going to give us a lot of flexibility in order to just kind of focus the light on the field and the track areas and make sure that light's not, essentially blasting into the neighborhood houses. Of course, there are a total of 6 poles instead of 4, and that's just to help aiming angles and distances of light being spread out through the different areas and so forth. And then they're going to be, we're going to be looking at potentially 70-foot high poles. And that's simply just to help those spill and glare numbers as well. A lot of times a big question that comes up is, why do you need such tall poles? A good kind of visual indicator of how this works, as far as the taller the pole allows us to get a better aiming angle on the field itself. And just kind of as the diagram above show, the lower it goes, the more you open up the fixture, which ultimately affects the neighborhood, houses, residential areas, and so forth, with that glare light that's really on the top of the pole. We don't want that. As of right now, you're going to be, essentially getting close to, very similar items as far as the picture down below here. What we're trying to do is limit that to make sure you don't have that ball of light, that blob of light, that light just shining into your house and essentially being a nuisance light. So that's our overall goal here. We want to kind of get with you, make sure, address any questions, concerns that you may have. I guess with that said, are there any questions as of right now that you can think of to, as far as that you'd have with this setup or this proposed system at all?
Brian, I will go ahead and ask a question myself. Maybe something you can address. And
Yep.
I see we have one viewer that has signed in, and for our folks watching on YouTube, that is the foot candles that you measured and that you just displayed to everybody. That is the foot candles that would be when we have the field lights on, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And as opposed to the lower level option, that is going to be an option for people that are just using the track when we are not using the entire field. Can you go in a little bit of detail about that, please?
Yeah, yep. So with the proposed system, it's actually going to give a few more options to the public there. As far as right now, in order to get any, if it's like the old Christmas lights, one light comes on, they're all on. As far as there's no options with that at this point in time. With the new system, there's going to be an option to have the field lit up, everything lit up all together, and then there's going to be an option for just the walking track itself to be lit up. And so what that's going to do here, essentially, this would be the, when all the lights are on and the foot candles of the field and so forth. Whereas then with a walking track,
You got anything in your recycling box over there?
availability, there's just going to be an option for just the lower levels around the track. So essentially that's going to mean there's even less fixtures on, even less light affecting any surrounding neighborhoods and so forth. But it gives the option as far as for the community to be able to still utilize that track at later hours without having any sort of excess light. Does that answer you there, Steve?
It does, and you're showing the light levels that are on the track with the lower level lighting. And I assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, I assume leaving the track and going toward the fence line with our neighbors, those numbers go down even more.
Yep. So as far as the spill values here, and I just pulled this up, they're hard to read here because it's on the bottom line. But essentially, it went from when all the lights are on, the foot candle level is about a 1 foot candle level, which is just a measurement of light. To this, it would go down to a maximum here of 0.43, which is under half of a foot candle. So it's going down, it's basically cutting that over, basically cutting that down in half at that point in time. So that's going to be a significant difference while still being able to utilize that track. So it's kind of a win-win.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, I have a question for you. Can you talk a little bit about just the difference in technology of the new lights versus what is in place now in terms of the the cutoff feature? Sure. And how they control that light spill? Absolutely, yeah, and that's a great question there. Just because there has been quite a bit of evolution with the light and light sources, specifically for sports fields, large areas, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up a document here, just kind of even just how our technology has advanced. Back from 1977, where you can see as far as the kind of nuisance light at the top, tracking all the way back to today's LED fixtures, which are essentially full cutoff. Over here on the right, where's today's LED, that's actually 3 fixtures that are on, in comparison to the technology that you guys would currently be experiencing with the existing field,
is going to be over here closer to this 1977, 1989 technology. Is what that would be similar to. And so just the advancements with LED, first of all, is going to be a lot more as far as kind of honed in there, as far as it's a lot more controlled for sure. But the fixture itself has to be able to cover some of that glare source. And so the light isn't blasting all over the place as well. So there's been the look of the fixture itself changes a little bit, but it's something that as far as we've used, a few other spaces here in Mount Pleasant. So they would be, it's a very known fixture source between a few different sites, and so it allows for almost essentially full cutoff. The only reason why it's not a full cutoff in this situation is just because the residential property is so close. But where it's at is still is a very good cutoff line. 1 foot candle, 20 feet away from the pole is basically unheard of. That's probably the best you're ever going to get there. Anything else you guys can think of?
Any other questions? I see Ms. Schultz, you joined us. I talked with you earlier today. Any questions on your end? She's got her. You didn't? Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Brian. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we wanted to cover there. That's generally how the lighting is going to work. It will be available in the evening to be able to for people to walk with the much lower level lighting where we don't have to light up the entire field. This is a great project. We're very excited about. It's going to be a big improvement to the town of Mount Pleasant. As I've mentioned to other people before, we have this beautiful town hall and we have the beautiful gym, and now we need the track and facility right next to it to match the nice facility that we have around here in the rest of the complex. And so we have a great architect and a light design here, and we're ready to move forward on that. For those of y'all that are interested, we are expectation on this project after completing the design process and going through permitting. We hope to be able to put it out for bid in the spring and hopefully be able to start construction probably at the earliest around May of 2021. At this point is what we would have targeted. So, any questions? All right. Well, with no further questions, Billy, unless you had anything else for the group you wanted to add in there?
No, I don't think so. I appreciate everybody's time.
All right. Well, thank you all. For those of you that participated in this meeting, thank you very much for your participation, and please feel free to give us a call and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you, and y'all have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.